Welcome to Talk Tennis. I am super excited about this episode. If you guys have been watching and listening to our podcast for a while, you're going to recognize some of these faces. We have the global team from Adidas or Adidas, and I'm so excited to talk about the shoe that we are going to be talking about. The first thing I want you guys to do is quickly introduce yourselves, and then we'll get into the next question. Why don't we start with Carly?
Hi, Michelle. It's really nice to see you again. I'm Carly Tati-Bouet, and I work in creative direction and design here at Adidas.
Awesome. Annette, you're next.
All right. Hi, Michelle. Also great pleasure to be back here with you. My name is Annette Steingers. I head up the business side for product for tennis at Adidas.
Daniel?
Last but not least, happy to be on the call again, Michelle. Yeah, I'm Daniel Neuerberg. I'm the category director for tennis and court sports footwear, and really happy to represent the team over here, and really happy to be with you on the call again.
Awesome. I'm so excited. I have so many things to talk about. My head's just kind of like going a mile a minute. First things first. Okay, we're going to talk about this shoe. It's absolutely beautiful. I need you guys to tell me the correct way to pronounce it, because I've said AVACOURT, I've said AVACOURT. Is there a correct pronunciation for this shoe?
Yeah, so AVACOURT is the correct pronunciation.
Okay.
But we're okay with both.
It's like Adidas and Adidas. Yeah. Depends on where you are in the world. We are going to get into that. However, I have to preface this. I am slightly obsessed with what the brand has been doing. I already kind of geeked out before we pushed record, but this jacket, I was telling these guys, the print, I saw it, I had to buy it. We all work in the industry, and we know, we often don't have to go out of our way to purchase certain items. I have been purchasing with my own funds, Adidas stuff from head to toe lately. I am going to take off my shoes and show our audience, because I literally can't stop talking about these shoes. These are the Ultra Boost, and they have the rich mincy pattern, and they are technically a running category shoe. I had been stalking your website, no joke, for a month. And on March 1st, I had been talking about it every day. On March 1st, I texted my sister and I said, do I actually need these shoes? And she said, yes, they're so you. And I haven't taken them off since. So talk to me a little bit about the designs you guys have been working on and how fresh and everything is over there.
Yeah, we're definitely super excited to hear your feedback, Michelle, and endorsement of the team's works. But we're really vested in focusing on bringing exciting colors and new print direction and things that can be kind of never seen, but iconically Adidas to the market for all of the sport needs, all of the lifestyle needs, and just leading in the space. And the teams are supercharged by focusing in laser sharp into the consumers and what we're hearing from the wants, the needs, and from what we also see from the design filters as being directional, leading us into the future.
Nice. I love that. So this episode is dedicated to this new shoe, AVACOURT, and it is a women's specific shoe. And I just want to get straight into it. You guys have made a women's specific shoe in the past, and there's one right now that is a favorite amongst many, many, many women out there. The Stella Court, previously the Stella Barricade. I know every female tennis player at Tennis Warehouse has that shoe in their top 3. Talk to me about the process of coming together with a new shoe for women and updating the Stella Court to the AVACOURT.
Yeah, no, it's maybe I take this one. I think or have a first shot at it. It's great to hear the love for the Stella Court shoe, and that is matched by many, including ourselves. And it's definitely a space that we feel really, really passionate and confident about, having kind of owned that for so long. And it's definitely continues to be a winner for many on and off the court, may I say. So, as you know, we have a significant lineup of tennis shoes in our portfolio, that reaches the entire spectrum from whatever a player needs on the court, whether it's stability, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, a lightweight, fast shoe with Ubersonic. And on all the shoes that we have in our portfolio, we have a dual gender approach. So we have making sure that the shoe is accessible for both female and male players. And what is also important here is that all of the women's shoes of the entire portfolio are tailored to women's specific needs. So we always put a lot of effort in making sure that the fit of the shoe is built on a women's specific last, that color, heights, material choices, abrasion zones, that adjustments are made on all of our shoes in the portfolio to women's athletes' needs. When we talk about AVACOURT, this is really where we know that a lot of female tennis athletes, a lot of learnings actually prefer to find a shoe and wear a shoe on court that somehow sits in the middle of that spectrum. You have Barricade is a very supportive, confident, stable product. And on the other side with Supersonic, we have a super fast shoe in the lineup. But we know that for a lot of female players, the sweet spot is really in that middle, where there is not such a preference or need for going one or the other way. And the learnings from Stella and the love that the shoe has been enjoying, is one part of the formula. But at the same time, over the course of the years, we've been able to collect a lot of additional data, insights, working with our pro athletes in particular, doing research on what are female athletes' specific needs, desires, and preferences on court. And that really all laddered up in the end where we felt so strongly about having all that additional insight and in it being time to update that space and put all forces together and create AVACOURT. So really happy with having all the ammunition that's gone into it.
Nice. I really like what you said, I know there was a ton of research done, and I would love to hear even more about what you guys have learned through the research process. But even hearing that you did so much research, hearing that women really do like that stable shoe, but they also like that light and comfort, and then being able to have the sense to be okay, let's put something in the middle, because so often we see these lines of shoes and they match up men, women, men, women, men, women. And that's great. And a lot of times women can find success with one of those options, but they might not even know that something better exists. And this is a hybrid of exactly what women are craving. So I guess that kind of leads me into, I'm always trying to be women positive and really strong females. Obviously, that is a big passion point of mine. But how did the research even begin? What kind of research were you doing? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can take that one. So that was a great journey. Maybe before I start, because what always starts with is history as well. And prior to that meeting, I went to the archive, and we started such journeys far back in the days. And one of the nice things from the archive was definitely the first shoe from Billie Jean King back in the days. That was the first women's tennis shoe built over a women's specific last. So, we started that 49 years ago, so very, very long time already. And it was also the first color tennis shoe, by the way, before women's tennis shoes. So before all the shoes were white with color pops, but this one was then the first fully colored one. So I think it goes way back, that we started to think about female consumers and also female tennis players. And all of that kind of led up to where we are right now. So when we talk about the AVACOURT, the journey began basically 3 years ago when we went into research, and also because the Stella Court was there, and we took a lot of learnings. The learnings came mainly from our athlete service team and our testing and quality team, who are researching, talking to the athletes, talking to the consumers. And they do that across all levels. And this was a very important point for us, that we are not looking just at one level, but we are really gathering all that information from, all players out there. And then we use these insights to create this new shoe. So one of the things that went into it was foot scans. So we did a lot of foot scans, and the foot scans showed us that women in general have a softer arch. And this related then to designing a special midfoot support system to avoid pressure points, for example. The other thing was wear patterns. We looked at wear patterns from top athletes down to amateur players. And what we saw was that the highest wear out is around the toes. So that led to a certain construction around the toes where we wanted to combine a soft material, with a more protective material to allow toe freedom, but at the same time, give that protection and abrasion resistance where needed. And this all kind of added up. So we looked into cushioning and proportions and tread patterns to adjust that shoe basically to all the demands of female athletes. This was how the whole thing came together. And then it rounded up becoming then the AVACOURT.
I'd love to build on Daniel's inputs as well. We also talked a lot about how the product would make the consumer feel and what it was that we wanted to bring through the connectivity to the product beyond the technical elements. How do they feel connected and attached to it? How will they react the first time that they see it? And how will that help them feel supported in their game?
That's super important, I think, especially as a female consumer. I mean, you already heard me blab about my my apparel, that it really does have such a big impact on the experience, I think, because if you want to put that shoe on or you want to put that whatever piece of clothing on, it really just, there's a little extra pep in your step. And after the past couple of years, if it's a material thing, it's okay if it brings you joy. And shoes bring me a lot of joy. So I was going to ask you guys if you could kind of maybe walk me through the technologies and what makes this shoe different from maybe a Stella Court or even a Barricade or an Ubersonic, and just kind of talk about its unique characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely. Fine to do here, and really start with the product. That's obviously the key thing. When we looked at the shoe, and you said it, the Stella Court was a great reference because it was a shoe that was appreciated by a lot of consumers over a very long time. So we obviously took learnings, and I mentioned a few of them. So I'm gonna start with what I already mentioned. So we had that toe support area here where we have this TPU toe cap protecting the forefoot, but then going in combination with that very breathable, very soft and very comfortable mesh that allows a really great fit. So in this case, that is something that's super specific about that shoe compared to other shoes. Then I talked about the midfoot, where we have this support saddle that you can see here in the middle, and that actually we brought that closer to the foot. So in this case, that the shoe, that the female foot is more hugged rather than you put a hard kind of protection around it. So that was a very, very key part. And then one thing which we also learned over the various researches was female players appreciate a higher amount of torsionability. So this was why we applied this torsion system here in that way, that it really allows torsionability in the way and provides more freedom. One important point was look in that perspective. So we always looked at the top down or toe down to also make sure, that the shoe is sleek and doesn't kind of add up 1,000 materials, which you don't want to have around your foot. So that's one very important point. And then the key about it is also that this is built about a very specific last. This is the only shoe that's built over this last in our whole range. And the last is actually created to become all the materials closer to the foot, because the one thing that you don't want to have is some room in the or space somewhere. So here, because we have haptical, very great materials that we chose as well. And this allows us to be very close to the foot and create that comfortable and hugged fit around the full foot. So these are the key things that make that shoe so specific, and also have give you a great experience, and what Carly mentioned before, confidence on court, because that's one of the most important things.
Well, and I love just even having it in hand. It feels feminine. Like the toe box is actually very soft feeling in regards to the shape. I don't know if I've seen a ton of shoes lately look this polished, I guess. And then even the cushioning, it's like you step in and it's like, okay, this is really comfortable. There's a lot of attention to the things that I think a lot of women do crave. And I don't know if it's female specific, but something I've been, or maybe it's my age, but something I've been hearing a lot lately from women on the court is like issues with bunions and stuff like that. And this shoe solves that issue from what I can see. I obviously haven't experimented with it, but it seems like one of those that's like super soft in all the right spots. So that is super exciting to hear. Could you guys talk to me a little bit about some of the testing that was done, maybe with some of the pro players?
Yeah, I think Carly, you had 1 point.
Oh, I just, on the style notes as well, because you started speaking to it, Michelle, so it's probably a good time to add on to that. We wanted it to be intuitively soft and feminine, and we built in some cues to lend to that too. This element and aspect of lightness, when you look at it, you imagine that it would be light, and yet you can see that it's also supportive. So you are working in synergy. You imagine that it's going to be really supportive and comfortable. And we did that by building these layers of transparencies and allowing the consumer to also see and kind of demystify what's inside the shoe. It's almost like one of the watches when you can see all of the inner working parts. Here, how you can see the saddle support and how you have the heel counter overlays. And we let the anti-abrasion details also kind of inform the design detail so that it all worked in synergy. And when you also look down at your feet, it brings you confidence because you feel like it has a very beautiful toe down and that it fits your foot very nicely.
Yeah, that's one thing, just like looking at it. And it doesn't matter how big your feet are. It feels very like beautiful and soft and feminine, but like I'm going to go compete like a warrior on the court.
Yeah, I jumped in on the testing question because you wanted to know.
Yeah.
So one thing we tested that across, as I said, across all levels of players. And I have to say that as well, with a key focus also on the next generation players, because they, same as us, they want to shape the future of tennis. So here we definitely want to hear their thoughts and their opinions about that shoe. So we went out there, we had a lot of testing on this shoe and really gathered a lot of information also during that process. 3-year process is obviously quite long. So that shoe had a certain journey as well. And one thing that I wanted to add as well, because you talked about cushioning, one important point for us was also the way how we construct it. And we wanted to construct it in a very integrative way. So the Bounce Pro that we have on this shoe allows us to combine the dual density or the two densities of the foam also in a way that is super comfortable and allows that great combination of cushion and support. So in this case, it was also something, and this came also over testing, where we then learned with the athletes and with the consumers that this is the right path to go. And we had the right technology at that time to hold hands and go that route to make that shoe what it is right now.
Nice. I was going to mention also the Stella Court is one of those shoes. And I'm not trying to say like men and women are completely different in this regard, but there are pros wearing it on court. I was going to say, we saw in the Australian Open that she was very prevalent. Danielle Collins she opted to choose that shoe. I'm pretty sure she bought them from Tennis Warehouse, but which is exciting. The Stella Court doesn't have like a huge pro presence. And I think that like speaks even further to it because it just has this reputation from women telling other women, like, this is the best shoe. This is so soft. It's comfortable. It's supportive. I can wear it all day. It's cute. It's stylish. And I like how a shoe can live on its own without being front and center at every tournament. Whereas I feel like sometimes maybe the men are like, well, what pro is wearing it? I'm not going to wear it unless they, so-and-so wears it. So that's something really cool that we've seen with the Stella Court. It's kind of like that word of mouth. I feel like women are really good at doing that. Like, hey, you need a recommendation for, a doctor, a podcast, a shoe, I got you. So hopefully I would assume this will just kind of follow in place.
Yeah, that's the biggest, greatest compliment you can get, right? When women vote with their feet on one side, but also it gets recommended to one another, and that's the ultimate goal that we would be loving to achieve with AVACOURT as well. But it will be visible on the professional court as well. So.
And I think that groundbreaking work behind Stella Court, and that adoption of that product has also paved the way in some ways. Our collaboration together with technology and style, and leaning into our history with the reference points that Daniel showed us. It's all paving the way to continue to push forward into this territory of amplifying women and helping bring them the tools to be the best at their game.
Yeah. I would like to, I'm kind of all over the place. And I think that's often what happens when I get really excited about something, because I'm like, but let's talk about this. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I really love that you brought up the Billie Jean King shoe and all of that. And then even going through your history of female athletes, especially on the tennis court, can we talk through some of that history and all the strong women that have been an ambassador for your brand?
That list is so large.
It's so long. Okay. I can give you some of my favorites. Okay. Growing up, Steffi Graf was my absolute favorite player. No joke. I dressed up as her in like the first grade and gave like a presentation. So maybe we can go with her, talk a little bit about her. I know Ivanovic was a very strong presence on tour, and she's still a strong presence. As a mom off tour, kind of like being a female athlete, I feel like she's kind of like, I can now resonate with her. Like she's living life and doing her thing, but she's not playing pro tennis. So maybe those two can help kick it off a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're touching on an interesting point. How I think women athletes so often maybe, and I don't know, this might be provocative in a way to say, but they transcend the professional, the sport context of their life in a seemingly even more natural way than maybe men, or male athletes. Not saying that it's, just one or the other, but in preparation for this, I've been thinking about it. Who is an athlete who inspires me and why? And I think, you mentioned Ivanovic, but, like, today's athletes, Petkovic for me is someone who resonates especially well with someone like me, where I think she's just an all-around awesome person, who is a fantastic athlete, with an amazing track record and on-court performances. But at the same time, she is one of the funniest people I've met. She's really smart. She has so much else going. And she's human and relatable and inspirational, just on both sides, right, on and off the court. And I think that really is when you have that whole package of an athlete who inspires you.
Yes, and she's so strong. I think as women, we see strength in other women, and we're like, yes, girl, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's have you guys answer that question, because I definitely want to hear who is inspiring you right now, or it doesn't even have to be right now, any time in the space as a female athlete.
I think we've got a Petkovic fan club over here.
Oh, nice.
On that, we had a chance to work with her a few times, and she's just extraordinary. So well-rounded, literary, authentic, a great role model in the space. I have to add Sakari.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've also had a chance to meet with her and work with her, and such an inspirational human, really just so hardworking and down to earth, and always focusing on betterment. And another court player, but not in tennis, Asma El Badawi in basketball is a great influence. And I have to add my mom,
Yes.
who's an avid swimmer and probably one of my first precursors into sport.
Yeah, I do a +1 on Sakari. I think whenever I see her or we get the opportunity, she's so fierce on the court. She's so incredibly powerful and strong in her presence on the court. And when you talk to her, and we have the pleasure of having those meetings with the likes of her, she's just the most approachable, nicest, smart, kind partner in crime in our work. And she, as Kali mentioned, she did play a big role also in the development of this product and others.
Nice. I know a lot of us like her as well, but I have a colleague at BNP Paribas at the moment, and she's been doing a little bit of our social stuff, and on her own personal Instagram, it's been like Sakari. So then yesterday it was like Tennis Warehouse, Sakari. I was like, someone is trying to be president of her fan club right now. We love her as well.
We're all here because we were so inspired by people along the way, and then coming to Adidas and looking at athletes past and present, male and female. We're never short on inspiration.
For sure. Daniel, what about you? Who are the strong women that you look up to?
Yeah, and you started with Steffi Graf. I mean, to be honest, like she was the hero during. I'm grown up in Germany. She was the hero back in the days. And I wanted to say one thing. I mean, it's the one thing what you leave on the court, but that you build such a legacy is for me impressive. And this is what really inspires. And had the chance to meet her once, and it was just amazing. So she's an like amazing person, and this is where I feel. It's one thing, being successful on court, but aside of the court, there is a lot more going on, and I'm really, proud to say that we have ambassadors like her who are amazing on and off the court. I have to say as well that I really like the next generation of upcoming players there as well. Had the chance to meet Clara Tausen a few weeks ago, and it was great talking to her. There is a lot going on the tour, and it's great to see how they deal with all that, and also the way they build up, speaking out and being proud and confident is amazing to see.
Yes, definitely. It seems like now more than ever, there might be more challenges, and with the nature of life now with social media and everything, it's stuff that, these athletes are kind of handling for the first time. And it is very interesting to watch some players really grow and thrive and speak well and be a great ambassador. And then it's just not working out as well for others. But, it's so interesting for sure. They are obviously dealing with more than just playing on the court. There's a lot going on. Carly, I think this one's for you. Can you give some sneak peeks or give me some inspiration on what kind of colors and designs we might start to see on the AVACOURT? Because, obviously I like something a little bit more wild, but I think the Stella Court did such a good job of creating designs and colors for women who it suits. There's something for everyone. So if you like something really bright and bold, you usually have something. And if you like something more muted, there's always that option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely focused on having colorways that had a few different logics behind them, so that, with this one, you can see kind of white base plus color pops. But we also worked into additional colorways, more print based. Can we show the
Sure.
Yeah, so maybe we could show you something that you'll like, that you probably may have not have seen yet. So this is our Richmond EC iteration for the collab. We were able to work in some really nice print to play off of these beautiful monofilament uppers and translucent rubber outsole, so that you could just have a different depth and dimension to the product. So that's one little sneak peek that we'll share.
Nice.
And we'll have others that I can't talk about. I want to see them and become excited about them, and we'll try to get you some pre-release.
Okay, good, because I need some. No, I'm just kidding. I always love when we have meetings with you guys and we get little sneak peeks, and then once the meeting's over, it's like everyone leaves the office and runs down the hall like, oh my gosh, did you see that shoe? Yeah. As tennis enthusiasts and shoe geeks, it's definitely our highlight when we're excited about new products.
And we're happy to share a bit of the sneak peeks as well. And we hope that the market will be just as excited as we are with it.
Yes, for sure. What else? I was going to say, maybe we can just kind of speak a little bit more about the importance of creating this silo, creating something for women, and continuing to, lean in and put some equity behind a female play. because, and I guess that kind of leads me in, or that will lead me to another question is being a female in an industry that can't, I always like hesitate to say it correctly because as a female, I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend a male, but being a female in a male dominated industry, sorry, Daniel. Let's talk about those two things.
I'll start with it. You know, I don't think that the industry created a situation like that intentionally. It's just the way that it was for some years. And breaking into design in the sport arena as a female designer was challenging. I have to say at the time, I never thought about it other than, okay, what am I going to keep doing to upskill, to work towards betterment, to show up with the work? And then once I made some progress, how can I teach, mentor, and pass it on? And that really early on led me to teaching at Fashion Institute in New York and Paris College of Art to try to kind of bring some speedboats to others who were trying to find their way, male and female, in the industry, but particularly within young females coming up in the industry. And I have to say, to break into footwear, I had to do a fair amount of self-upskilling. I actually traveled to factories and other geographies and learned all the technical inner workings of football, of product and football, running, every technical sport, to feel like I would be ready and be able to compete. And the real breakthrough in the end, although there were some successes and great journeys along the way, was here at Adidas. And we're really showing the investment into the person, not the gender, into the work. And that kind of culmination of those years of diligence prepared for this moment where I can truly, as a creative leader in the brand, also pass that on. And I can't tell you how important that's been. I've got young females coming to me frequently, asking for some keys, asking for some advice, and I'm able to bring them back some real life experiences to help shape and influence those pathways. And we've got the brand that's supporting it. And I think that also really connects to the Billie Jean King reference when we were first. It connects to our Anya boot in the 70s when we were leading in football, when after women had been welcomed back into the sport, we were the first ones to get out there and produce product to support the athletes. And so, you know, that journey has been unique. It hasn't been without challenges, but I wouldn't change it. It really taught me a lot along the way.
Nice. I love that. And I think I sometimes hesitate speaking about this, and it's tough because, you know, if someone were to walk in a room and there's men and women and they wanted to know about a shoe, I don't think they'd come to me first. But kind of like you said, you did your due diligence, you put in the work, you figured it out. And it's like, it's fun to kind of also surprise those people. Like, well, let me tell you why this does that, because I've done my homework and I know, and it's a passion. So that's awesome.
And it's been good that we've been seeing these dynamics shift, for some time now. While, historically men were the default in the sport industry, whether it's in the people who shape it and drive it and live it, but also in how we create. I'm really pleased to continue to observe that this has just been, that's now a thing of the past. And we're kind of over that hurdle. And I think no one questions creating absolutely world-class, best types products that are uncompromised for anyone. So it's, again, like Kali said, not targeting a gender necessarily, but people, humans, and really looking into their individual needs and desires and preferences, and doing that in an uncompromised manner with all that we have at our disposal. And also as an employee at Adidas, and have been here for quite some time, it is absolutely tangible. And the shift needs to happen, it needs to be a lived shift. It needs to be your lived reality at a company like ours. And that also then enables us to create in a genuine, authentic manner into that opportunity. And it's not just in tennis, and you might have been seeing work coming from our training group with a big bra revolution. We have some running silhouettes that are created with a women's runner focus. So it's not just in tennis that we're doing this, and really having that laser focus on the person who we're creating for, the athlete we're creating for.
Yes. And I stalk your guys' website all the time. So I definitely had sent that sports bra play to several people in this company. Really proud of that. That turned out amazing. And I think that's just also something you guys are doing well. And this does not have a gender bias, but you're showing a diverse athlete. You're showing an athlete of any age, any size, any color, any race, any background, any capability. And we're talking more about inclusivity. And it's just really cool to see such a big brand take that stance, because it makes it easier for everyone else to also then follow suit, because it's not always an easy thing.
Yeah. If I can, I would also take one spin back to the product again, because that was a good one that you mentioned, conversations. And what we realized is a lot of the conversations when we started talking about the new shoe, about the AVACOURT, a lot of conversations started with the fact, so how do female athletes move different than male athletes? And we always went in and said, like, we don't want to, look at the differences. We actually want to look at how, like, what does a female tennis player need? What is it that makes her then move best on court, feel best on court, and not, versus how a male athlete would then, move or behave or work. So I think that is also a different point of view that we established during the process, to say, like, that is the only way that we are not doing compromises, but we are just doing the things that are right. And this is how the development of this shoe also went. And what we did over the 3 years is looking at the demands, at everything that's needed for a female player to play at her personal best and live with that shoe on court in a very confident way to allow her to do everything that she wants to do in her game.
Nice. I love that word, that confidence keeps coming up, because we know that that's so important when you're on the court. You need that confidence.
Well, and imagine, it's cold outside, you want to play, but you don't want to go outside. You don't want to go out and play, but it's these little confidence builders or morale builders that we can build in that gives that extra boost of encouragement.
This is a shoe for every athlete. And for that is why I don't want to look only at the top athletes. You said it before, this is a shoe for all and every female athlete that is out there who wants to have a shoe that is inspired by and created for female athletes. That is the key point about this product. And important is also that everything on this shoe inherits the demands of female athletes. So, this is where I would say at the moment, I would be proud to see that on every court all over the place as soon as possible.
Awesome. It exudes that female touch and confidence. And like, I hate to use the word pretty, because sometimes we feel like that dumbs down something, but it's pretty, and that's okay. It's okay to feel pretty on a tennis court when you're like sweating and like, at your peak. So I think I'm excited. I'm excited to see it on players of all ages, all sizes, all shapes, all experience levels, someone that's never played tennis, someone that's been playing tennis since they were 5. Like, I'm sure that that's going to happen. I'm confident in you guys and this shoe. It looks absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to test it yet, but I'm like drooling, salivating. Like, I can't wait to get it on and get on the court in it, because it's just one of those shoes that you see and you want to put it on. And like, you kind of also want to make sure you walk by people on the way to the court so people can be like, oh, what's that?
To that point, Michelle, we had a lot of athletes say to us that they often change shoes after they get to the court and put the tennis shoe on when they get there to play, because they don't feel like some of their tennis product is as wearable to and from. And that was another goal we had here, was that, you feel like you can wear it wherever, to and from, on court, etc. So that's something that we really wanted to infuse into this.
And I wonder also, in your research, did you find that women tend to find a shoe that they like and just kind of like want to just always, men as well, but like, are they more likely to stay pretty loyal to the shoe?
Absolutely. Consistency is a very important topic. It is an important topic for us. And this is for everyone, as soon as you like something, you want to keep it, you want to go ahead with it. And this is also very important when you talk about how the things develop, why we took a lot of the learnings from the Stella Court, because we also want to build on a certain pattern that athletes love. And this is one of the key things that went into the new shoe as well. So absolutely, that was a pattern and the feedback that came often up in the research. And it's funny because players love to talk about generations of shoes, and you always get, there was this one shoe in the past that I really loved, and it was my beloved shoe. And unfortunately, it's not existing anymore. Yeah. So that's the usual way it goes. So this is why AVACOURT builds on a lot of known formulas that we had learned over the research, and really builds on that to also build that consistency with the consumers and the athletes.
Awesome. Is there any origin story behind the name AVACOURT?
That was an interesting one. So AVACOURT, yeah, and I want to do one kind of shout out to Katarina, who was the product manager for this shoe. Can't be on the call, unfortunately. But there was definitely research done for the name, and Ava links back to Old Northern. To the Old Northern language, and goes back to Eve and first women. And obviously we felt there was a great connection between that and the court, and we wanted to bring the two worlds together, and we felt and came up with AVACOURT was the perfect merge. So in this case, this was how the name was created and coming up.
Nice. I like that. It's that. And I mean, like, even saying AVACOURT, it's like you kind of feel soft feminine, but also like, let's go play tennis. Awesome. If you could give our listeners just a quick little like tagline about this shoe, like what sells this shoe? Why should they try it? What's the best reason to put it on their feet? How is this shoe going to change their lives? Because I can tell you shoes do change lives.
So this is really the shoe that was created for all female players. And it was created or inspired by and created from, female athletes and for female athletes. And this is very important. So it really is that shoe that inherits all the demands of female players to provide. And I go back, maximum confidence also on court. And this is what the shoe overall inherits in a nutshell.
I'm writing that down, maximum confidence, because I need those phrases in my life on an everyday basis, but I just love that, like as a tagline, maximum confidence. So I'll be working on the description on our website, and you will for sure see that phrase on there.
Maybe I can build on that a little bit. If you're looking for really what is best, if you want to play your best tennis yet in truly an uncompromised, confident manner, feel comfortable and be completely free from any distraction and look beautiful, this is your go-to shoe. It really is that sweet spot of the best of all things. It is informed, enriched, and based on deep insight. And we really know this is going to make you feel unbeatable on the courts.
And it's female-led design. I mean, this product is made for our feet. So we can really feel comfortable with that. It's not going to have fit issues because it was made on lasts that weren't for women. It's really every little millimeter of the product has been thought to optimize a fit that can work across a large group of women.
Awesome. I'm so excited for the launch of this shoe. March 24th is when we can start ordering, and look forward to getting even closer to this product. I know this has been such a big project for you guys, and I don't think our listeners realize how long the production of a shoe can take, especially when you're starting literally with a new last and everything. So really cool to see this come to fruition. I'm sure you guys are very excited for the launch and to see all your hard work come to market. And you guys are doing an awesome job. Like, I really love everything that the brand is standing for. You're just one of those brands that like I constantly am looking for inspiration, and I keep finding it in your brand. So thank you guys for just continuing to be authentic and listen to the consumer rather than just pro players or whatnot, and just using as our Rick would say, all the colors in the, the coloring box, all the colors in the crayon box. It's just really cool to see all the ideas continue to flourish. So thanks you guys for joining me. Anything else that you want to add before we wrap this?
I think just one more thing that I want to say is, and you said it, sneak peek, there is a lot more to come. We are excited on what we still have in the pipeline. So absolutely happy to be here, and stay tuned. There is a lot of things coming soon.
And the gratitude is mutual. Thanks so much for having us. It's always such an inspiration to talk to you as well and feel the love. So it goes both ways.
Thanks, Michelle, for the great questions as always.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. Everyone go check out the AVACOURT shoe. We are so excited. You can stay tuned for the full play test from the ladies of Tennis Warehouse, and just keep your eye out for all the things that Adidas is doing this year. You know that they are continuing to push the limits and bring us some cool stuff. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.